just wanted everyone to understand that the poetry that I wrote walking down that path was a trying time in my life. And a lot of times we go through things. And we take those walks, and you need someone to take the walk down that path with you for them to understand the rough time that you went through. You don't want no one to judge you from what you went through. You don't want no one to look at you different from where you've been. You don't want them to see the hurt. You don't want nobody to see you crying. You don't want nobody to see your pain. But this is when you have to ask someone to walk that journey with you, because it's hard. You know, I needed some.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to Let Loose and Be Free. I am your host, author Shinagadan, and I am here with one of my amazing survivors that's telling an amazing survival story. Welcome, Miss Free. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, and you?
I am awesome. I can't complain. You know, one day at a time. Being glad to be here in the land of the living.
Yes, amen to that.
So can you tell us who you are and where you're from?
Okay, my name is Florencia Freeman. I go by my pen name Free Flow. I am from Louisiana in the Lafayette, Opelousas area, and I moved to Texas about 4 years ago. So I've been teaching here since 2017.
Okay, I love it. So can you tell me just a little bit about when was your first time you encountered your domestic violence?
Well, the first time I encountered domestic violence, I think I was maybe 17 or 18, and it was this guy I was dating, and he it was a one-time thing, so I let it go. He punched me in my head, and I had a knot, but at the time I just, I was young and dumb, and I just let it slide, and I told myself it was my fault and let it go. But that was the first time, and that it led me into my.
You was breaking up a little bit. I'm sorry. Okay.
Oh,
Nah,
I was saying that my first encounter was with. Oh, my first encounter was with my ex when I was 18. He punched me in my face and gave me a knot on my head, and that was my first domestic violence situation. And we broke up not long after that. It ended very badly, and I don't know. I didn't take it serious at the time.
Got you. So it just seemed like it was just something that happened and you just kind of just moved on with life after that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Did you see any signs before that incident happened? Like, was there any red flags, anything that came in the midst of that beforehand?
He had a temper. But when we're young, we tell ourselves that the jealousy is cute. They love them. It's normal. So, looking back, there were signs, but I didn't see them as signs. I just thought it meant he really, really cared about me.
Absolutely. And then that's sometimes what happens is we take the lust and love and just disappear from what actually happened. It's like, oh, he didn't mean it, or oh, maybe I did something that caused the situation at hand. Now, tell me about the story that made you traumatized. Like this amazing, because like with me, I went through something that's told me like, all right, I don't want to do this no more. I don't want to ever be in this situation anymore. So tell me, what was that survival story that just took you to understand what was truly going on?
Well, I met my ex-husband right after this breakup. And so we got together, and again, he had jealous traits and jealous behaviors, but we got together in maybe '04, and it started with just verbal abuse, or like, how the guys do the finger flick to the forehead type thing. So it was still, I minimized it, so it wasn't major to me.
and it escalated to punches or choking or just standing over, throwing things, dumping trash on me, and ultimately to the point where I was being dragged up and down the street, thrown up against the house, gun to my head, and I still stayed. I was with him for about 10 years, and I didn't think about the signs and the things that I hadn't healed within myself until after the fact. But it he really traumatized me, and it made me not trust anyone.
Ooh, I definitely understand that. So, what were the steps that you took after going through the 10-year relationship with your ex husband? And, like, what was the steps that you took to make yourself not be a survivor anymore, to actually just be a woman that has victory at that moment now?
Oh, it took I would say the first 2 years maybe after I left, I focused on reflection. I really needed to take a look at, what made me stay and what led me to even think that those types of things were okay. And it was a lot of hard work that I had to do, and things, when I went back and I did therapy and all that, I spent a lot of time alone because I had before that I had gone from relationship to relationship. I hadn't taken any time out, and I realized that before I even met him, that I just accepted abuse just from everyone. I had it in my mind that people love you, they hurt you, and looking back, that he's the type of man they know which women to seek out because they see that weakness. And so he saw that I was vulnerable and could be easily manipulated. And so I had to look back at all of those things so that I didn't make the same mistakes going forward.
Absolutely. And sometimes it's kind of hard to then, put ourselves in this situation and say, like, where did I go wrong? Like, what did I miss? What did I not pay attention to? And why am I still drawing these same people towards me? Like, what is inside of me that's keeping me, that I'm actually keep getting in these same relationships? So if you had to answer that question, what was it that kept you drawn to these people?
Low self confidence, um, looking for someone to complete me, instead of just loving myself and feeling complete within myself, thinking that being alone was a bad thing. And so because I didn't want to be alone, I allowed, um not whoever, but some people have the mentality of, well, it's not many good ones out there, so take what you can get. And so that's what I did for a long time. I took whatever I could get and didn't realize that I was attracting the same type of man. The
Right.
ones who were controlling, the ones who saw the flaws that I had and wanted to, you know, take advantage of me. And that was a tough pill to swallow, just thinking about, dang, like I wasted all this time, and it wasn't all his fault. I chose not to see the signs.
Right.
I stayed. Um, it was hard work. It's still hard work.
Absolutely. Did you ever think that you would ever, like, did you see domestic violence growing up when you was younger, or when this happened, was it just something that happened to you, and have you've never encountered it before then?
I hadn't encountered it personally. I had seen people in relationships around me, and they all fought. Like I've seen couples just go at it, and I just thought it was normal. And even when it did happen to me, it did not feel normal, but because I had seen it, I
You thought it
believe that
was
that's just what people do.
right.
I hadn't really seen too many healthy relationships.
Right. So that kind of goes back to the concept of, how they say sometimes when you see certain stuff, that's how you learn. And you thought that that was how a relationship was supposed to go. That was a
Yeah.
norm.
Yes, most definitely.
So if you had to, because with your kids, you have boys and girls or just girls, or what do you have?
I have one girl and three boys.
Okay. So to your boys, what would you tell them about domestic violence and how to treat a woman and all of those things? And to your girl, what would you also share with her to give her a different direction on relationships and stuff as well?
Um, well, I'm still trying to figure out how to word it with my daughter. Like I've
Okay.
told her things because she's 7. I'll tell her, you don't let anybody put their hands on you. You don't have to accept things that you're uncomfortable with. But she's very inquisitive, so I have to be careful how I say things because I don't want to expose her to too much too soon.
Right. How old is
Um,
she?
she's 7. Now my oldest son, he's 12, and both of them are from that marriage.
Uh-huh.
And when I left, my daughter was a baby. So my son, we have more in-depth conversations because he saw a lot of it. So
Yeah.
he knows what it looks like, and so I had to explain to him, this is not normal. I had to apologize for even putting him through that.
Hmm.
um, I had to explain to him that it's never okay. That if there's a way that he can walk away, if he feels like he's that upset, then he needs to walk away. Um, and I just tell he's a lover, so I
Yeah.
don't think I have to worry about that. But just trying to make sure we have the open communication so
Right.
that when he has questions, he can ask me. Um, if something's unclear, I clear it up. And he is already very respectful of women, young ladies. He's not one of those pushover kids. So I'm proud that even seeing all that, he, isn't going down the wrong path.
Right.
So I'm just trying to keep him on the right path.
And that's awesome. And I asked that because, both of the people that I had a domestic violence issue with, they both seen it when they were younger. So instead of the generation curse broke, they continued and they became the abusers. So that's why I was asking, like, what was your, how did you proceeded with speaking to your kids? Like with me, I had to have the conversation with my daughters because I got 2 girls. So I talked to them about, like you said, not letting nobody put your hands on you. And see, with them, they actually saw it. So I had to have the conversation about, that wasn't an appropriate relationship. Like it was toxic. And, just kind of explain some things because I didn't want them to feel that, it was okay to be in that type of relationship. It was okay to even had stayed as long as I stood. So, and like you said, I had to apologize to them about, going through that as well. So guys, just remember when you have kids, have that conversation with them, especially if you're going through the domestic violence piece, because a lot of times we have to make sure their mindset is understanding the trauma that they've been through and understanding to help them heal as well as healing ourselves. Now, did you go to therapy after this process, or you just kind of just naturally heal through your spirits and your mind and stuff?
I thought I naturally healed,
Mhm.
but it wasn't until I had my second son in 2018 that I realized that I hadn't healed. And so then I went to therapy. And I still go through things, like I still
Mhm.
have like PTSD with certain things, just because he was one of the his abuse was more so psychological.
Right.
It was also physical, but he would do things like if I'm sound asleep, he would pour a bucket of water on my head.
Oh, wow.
Yes, or if I'm sleeping, he'll just start screaming in my
Yeah.
ear. And so, loud noises, I still can't deal with those types of things. And I didn't even realize with my son until maybe 2 years ago that he remembered the stuff.
Mm.
When I left, my son was 4.5, about to be 5. And so I was like, okay, I don't have to talk to him about that. He probably won't
Yeah.
even remember. And then next thing you know, he's 7 and he walks up to me and he says, Mom, I remember when Daddy had that gun to your head. And I'm like,
Mm.
oh my God. Like,
Yeah.
and it's like, dang, he does remember. And
Yeah.
so we do have to talk about it, even though I didn't want to. And so I had to sit and listen to him tell me everything that he remembered. And it scared him so much to where he doesn't want to be that type of person. So, I even have him in therapy now that
Yeah.
it's come up.
Right.
Getting him the help that he needs. And as a parent, the best advice I could give is not to avoid. Like, I thought I was safe by him being so young. No, they
Yeah.
remember, and you just never know when it's gonna come up.
Right. And that's the thing, like my daughter, me being a little transparent, like she says to me, like, Mom, I don't want to leave you, like she be like, oh, I'll be worried about you when I'm not around. I'm like, I don't need you to be my savior. I just need you to be a kid. I don't
Yeah,
want you to feel that you have to be here to make sure I'm okay. I'm the one that's supposed to be making sure you're okay. And in her mind, she feels like she has to be my bodyguard because I've been through stuff. And I'm like, no, baby, I need you to just live and be a kid, honey. That's it. And I know you've been through a lot, so I took them through therapy as well, to especially like emotionally and mentally make sure that, they get a lot better, because at one point she didn't want to leave me at all. She wanted to just be next to me. Like, I don't want to go nowhere. I don't want to go visit nobody because I don't want nothing to happen to you while I'm gone. I'm like, I'm all right. And they're what, 9 and 10 now. So I get it. Like, it's really crazy, especially when it comes to domestic violence, because so many times we see things happen and we like, oh, it's gonna get better, or oh, maybe it's not gonna happen again. You
right.
know.
Or maybe I need to change something in
Yeah.
myself. Like, maybe if I did
Mhm.
this better, or maybe if I did that, and it doesn't, and it doesn't, and it. Oh my goodness! I'm just glad I made it out, because
Amen.
things could have gone so differently if the gun hadn't jammed.
Right. Now, question: how long has it been since you've been out that relationship with your ex husband?
I ended the relationship in October of 2014. So 7 years now. So yeah.
Now, was you nervous to get in another relationship after two relationships that ended with domestic violence? Like, how did you take those steps to go into a healthy relationship after those two?
Um, I haven't really had a healthy one.
Okay.
I've been in a situationship
Okay.
where
How they
I
say entanglement
thought
is the word they use these days.
entanglement.
Listen.
Yes, my 3-year-old, his dad, we were friends, and that was my first uh I guess encounter or try
Right.
since leaving my ex-husband. And so I felt like we were protected because we had rules. It wasn't
Mhm.
really a relationship.
Right.
And so there was no, in my mind, there would be no controlling or anything like that. And he still snapped. And so that just made me feel like, you know what? Either all of y'all are crazy,
Right.
or I just need to be by myself.
So, in the midst of after that happened, and he snapped in the two relationships, what are you doing to make it healthier for you mentally? Like, what are you doing for yourself at this moment?
Just spending time by myself,
Mm.
because, when I really just dug deep down, realizing the pattern, not just abusive relationship, just not the right guys, period. and it's things I need to work on in me. So realizing that and knowing that I need to do some soul work, knowing that I the abuse still affects me to this day, and knowing that when I do get in a relationship, I want it to be the right relationship and I want to be
Right.
fully healed. So I'd
Hmm.
rather be alone right now
Yeah.
and do the soul work.
Absolutely. And that's just awesome. That's how you have to do it. It's like, listen, at the end of the day, you gotta just you gonna have to take it one step at a time. You know what I mean? Because a lot of times we rush into relationships because we didn't want to be by ourselves or we didn't fully heal. So
Hmm.
it's like I want somebody next to me, or they wanted they got an itch that needed to be scratched, and they're like, oh, and then when that itch starts, and then you get into this situationship, and then
Yeah.
just other things come out of it. So absolutely, I understand all of those natures. Now, in your thing, did you say that you wrote a book?
Yes, I've written
Okay.
2 books by myself and I've been in 4 anthologies.
All right. So tell me a little bit about your two books, and then we'll get into your anthropology. Your anthropology. Sorry, words don't want to come out right today. But
It's the words, it's the internet,
yes,
it's
you know how
everything.
it
Oh my
goes.
goodness.
It's nothing but the devil, and we're not gonna let him interrupt what we trying to bless people and get them healed through. So we gonna get
Right.
through this. My words, internet, all the above. We rebuke you.
Yes.
So let's
Yes.
talk about your first book. So tell me about your first book and when did you write it and published it?
My first book is Shoulda Just Killed Me, and I wrote it in 2013. It's a fiction novel about a young girl who goes through just a rough life, a lot of sexual abuse, physical abuse, identity crisis, and just being promiscuous and ending up in an abusive relationship. And I'm actually working on the second part of that now.
Okay.
It took me a while. I took a hiatus during
It
my
happened.
healing. I
Right.
couldn't do it. Um, and my second book is poetry, short stories, and songs that I wrote. It's called Rejection, Revelations, and Reality, and I think that one came out in 2016.
Okay.
Um, but
Now,
I love writing. I love it.
now are both of those are on Amazon as well, or how would they be able to get that book if they wanted to get those two books that you just talked about?
Amazon, and I also sell them out of the trunk of my car.
Amen. Listen, it's a hustle time. You got to get it the way it fit and get it where it
Yes,
fits. Girl,
yes.
I understand.
I travel, I ship, I do all
Yeah,
that.
absolutely. Now the four anthologies that you've been in. So let's name them off. Tell me what you did when you did them and what made you want to join the anthropology to do them.
The first one was I Can Hear Your Heart. That was with Swag Productions and Yara Kalima and a bunch of other female authors, and it was about mental health awareness.
Okay.
That's also something I'm passionate about because I've dealt with anxiety and depression, and it's real. Some people, they don't take it seriously.
Right.
So that that was, I think I shared my story, my part of my story in that one, just my struggle with it. The second one was with an author named Hood Chronicles. It's called the Black Print, and it was me, him, and 2 other authors, and it's more of a street literature, short stories, like hood fiction or whatever. I don't know. That was my first time, but I was excited for the opportunity because he was
Right.
well known, so I did it. The third one, it's called Cutthroat Chronicles, Stories of Deception, and that one was just a bunch of cliffhanging stories and poems about just things happening that you just never would have expected when you read the stories that are in there. And that was me and a lot of my friends and some of my family members that did that anthology. And the most recent one was done last year called Touched. And it's about victims of sexual abuse. And that's also something that I'm passionate about. I like to help people heal. And in doing that, you have to be able to tell your story, and
Right.
you have to be able to identify that, someone did go through this. You're not
Right.
just telling me it's going to get better. You know what I'm going through. And
Hmm.
so, yeah, and that one was last year.
Now, I've heard you say sexual assault twice. Now, was you sexually assaulted when you was younger?
Yes.
Okay, can you tell us about that story, or are you not comfortable?
Well, when I was younger, I don't remember exactly the age, but
Hmm.
I was sexually abused for about 3 years. And I think it was about 3 years. Yes. And, once I ended up in these relationships, I had to take myself all the way back to that. And I realized that I never healed from that. Like, that
Right.
drove a lot of the decisions that I made. That's where I learned that my body, in my mind, my body was not my own. It was for other people. It was for
Hmm.
them to do what they wanted to do. People that love you are gonna hurt you. Um, and it just messed with my confidence. So even though I didn't do it, it was
Yeah.
done to me and it made me feel dirty. So it messed with my confidence, or me having confidence.
Yeah.
So I didn't have much of a standard when it came to guys because of this blemish. And
Right.
even though it wasn't my fault. Um, and I had to, I'm healing from that as well, because healing from that, if I had healed from that, I would have never ended up in that domestic violence relationship,
Right.
because abuse wouldn't have been normal to me.
Right. Now, question for you. When it happened, did you tell someone or you just didn't say anything?
No, I didn't say anything.
Now, when was the first time you actually revealed that you was going that you went through it? Like, did it just stop, or you happened to just make it stop, or you moved, or what happened with that?
I moved. It stopped and I moved at the same time, but
Gotcha.
I never said anything until I was an adult.
Gotcha. Now, did you go through therapy to heal? Did you do the heal work through therapy for that, or you didn't? Or you still just healing through it on your own?
I know I can't heal through that on my own. I am, currently in therapy, and my therapist, I was upset because I'm like, you going too slow. Like, we've been on
Yeah.
this issue for the longest. Like, when are we going, move on? And she's like, obviously, we can't go to the next issue if we don't take care of this one. So
Right.
it's on our list of things to do. And it's going at the pace it's supposed to go at.
Right. It's some things you can't force, and being that is something you held on for so long, is something that is definitely going to take some time to break down the pieces and unresolved all of the stuff. So you have to peel it back like an onion, just kind of
Yes.
take the layers off bit by bit to then understand the trauma all the trauma you truly carried around all these years, to then be able to heal after all that. So I definitely get it. I understand, dear truly. So, if you had to give people some tools in their toolbox for going through domestic violence or sexual, so what would be the tools that you would put in their box?
Um, Self love would be the first thing. Because when you love yourself, you have standards that you're going to hold yourself and other people accountable to. And had I loved myself in those situations, things wouldn't have gone as far as they did.
Right.
Bravery, just it takes a lot. People think it's easy to just get up and go and leave the situation. It's not. It's not that easy to just get up and walk away. Just having support, whether it's family, friends, or the community. Prayer, you gotta have prayer. Um, and love from other people, like real love from other people.
Like that unconditional love with no judgment.
Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely, definitely. So if you had to tell somebody how to take the steps of trying to leave, what would it be?
Hmm.
Because it's hard.
Yes, I left and went back, and it is hard. You first have to make sure you know without a doubt that you want to leave. You then have to make sure, you have to make sure you're serious about it. You have to make sure you're tired, because I didn't fully leave until I was just mentally, physically, emotionally tired. Um, you have to have a plan on where you're gonna go, um, a way to get there, um, just somewhere that's not where they can get to you. I had kids involved, so I had to get custody, um, the visitation stuff. So if you have children, then you have to figure that out. Um, my suggestion would be through the court system, because you never know, especially these days. And the sooner the better, because things are just, they're getting worse. These people are killing even more now, and I'm
Yeah.
seeing more of the men killing the children to get back at the women, and so
Yeah.
it's scary. Like, you can't afford to stay in these type of relationships.
Absolutely not. It is getting scary, especially like when COVID started. It was real crazy because you saw so much of the domestic violence rate go up because they were stuck at home with
Mm,
their abuser and they didn't have an escape. And that was definitely hard to see. So that's one reason I'm such a big advocate for it, because it's like that it's like a lot of people, how they said knowledge is power. And if I can provide you with some knowledge and information about what I've been through, maybe to help you not to go through it, you
right.
know. Can you give them like maybe two or three different gaslights? I mean, different sign, red. Tell you, words don't want to come out today.
Oh my goodness.
Couple of red flags that they should look out for if they're thinking they're in a domestic violence relationship.
Um, I would say verbal threats, that are that have immediate apologies right after them. Um, controlling behaviors like what you wear or where you go. Little subtle things. They seem subtle at first, but eventually, it becomes a big thing. And the biggest thing for me was, mm, when he got in my head and he made me feel like he was the only one that was there for me. So that isolation, um, con that he ran, like, I'm
So
the only one that's here for you, so block everybody else out.
right.
But now it really is only me and you, so I can't go to anybody because I've turned my back on everybody.
So he isolated you from your family as well.
Everybody. It was just me and him.
Wow. That's crazy because the one thing you do need is like you said, support. So it's like when you're going through it, it's like who am I gonna be able to talk to?
Right.
Now, how did your family feel once they found out?
Um,
How did that go?
they I think they kind of knew. My sister knew,
Hmm.
and she was pretty pissed, but she didn't really say anything. My brother, when he found out, he was mad, but I mean, what could he do? I kept going back.
Yeah.
So, his hands were tied. I mean, everybody was relieved when I finally did leave. Um, But the relationships, they never start off abusive though. It's always fun. Like the first 3 years we were together, it was great. I mean, not really great, but at the time I felt like it was great. But as soon as I matured, like I was 19 when we met and he was
Okay.
26. So looking back, he should have been way more mature than I was. But
Absolutely.
he wasn't. And so once I got to like 21, 22, and I'm like, I think I'm done with, clubbing and all this
Mhm.
other stuff. Like, let's do something else. Let's do something productive. And because I didn't want to be the party girl, that's where we started having the issues because I didn't want to do what he wanted to do when I wanted to think for myself. And so it's like when they are kind of forcing their views and ideas on you, it seems like they're just suggesting or they're looking out for you, but they're really pushing their own agenda and they don't want you
Mhm.
to think for yourself.
Yeah. And that's the craziest thing. It's like because they know that you have a mind of your own, and when they realize that you're starting to get your power, they try to find any way to just pick you apart and
Hmm.
make you feel that your ideas are not right and you'll never be nothing. So absolutely, definitely understand that. So as you took this journey, how do you feel now?
Um, I feel I feel good and bad. Like I overthink a lot. That's one of my
Mhm.
flaws. So I try not to stay in the mindset of, man, I wasted all those years because, when you think about it, that's a lot of time wasted. Things that I could have done or should have done. Um, And for a while, I was caught up in I should have left when this happened, or I should have
Right.
done this better, or I could have had all this by now if I had just left. But most of the time, I'm in the mindset of I survived. I'm a warrior. Um, my kids are safe. They're with me. Um, he hasn't seen them since. He has not tried to, which is fine with me.
Mhm.
Um, he may think he's punishing me by doing that, but that's he's punishing them.
Right.
Um, I just I'm feeling more confident now that I'm in a good place mentally and spiritually, and I'm giving my kids the life that they deserve, and I'm getting better, and I'm healing because that's all I really wanted was to be healed and to be the type of mother that they need me to be. And unhealed was not working.
Oh, look at you. Strong, phenomenal, confidence. Yes, look at that. That's what I'm talking about. Like those are the things and the characters that we have to continue to pour into ourselves after taking those walks because it's mornings we, like you said, dealing with the mental part of it, the PTSD, the anxiety, the triggers that happen, because sometimes in a relationship, just the slightest yell of a voice can trigger you because of what you've been through in your past to where it makes you just don't feel comfortable and then your anxiety kicked it up because it's like, okay, what's about to happen? Are we going back down this lane
Yeah.
again? So I definitely understand it. I get it. Listen, I'm honored that you successfully removed yourself out of that toxic relationship.
Thank you.
And I want you to continue to be strong and continue to be a force to be reckoned with and continue to teach your sons and your daughters that that is not the way to go.
I'm
So,
trying.
so what's next for you? You have 2 books, 4 anthologies. What's next? What's next on the list to conquer? What's next?
I am working on another book. I am figuring out where I want to be in education.
Mhm.
I taught ELA the first 5 years, then I did science 2 years, and then I did history. And now I'm going back into ELA. And so just trying to figure out if I want to do something focusing solely on reading. I want to help kids bridge the gaps because a lot of our kids, they're several grade levels behind in reading, and
Mhm.
I'm very passionate about that. I've also been doing more editing, um, and trying to make a name for myself in that area too, with along with my books. And the sky's the limit now.
Yes, only the look. The only thing, only way up is only way up. Only way it is now is to go up.
Is
I
up,
tell
yeah,
you the words. I'm sorry. Listen, all right. Look, it is one
the,
of these days with the words.
yes,
But
the devil does not want us to
yeah,
have this conversation.
but we gonna have it, and this is why I chose let loose and be free because the thing about it is you gotta let it go and let it loose. You gotta release it. You gotta let it go and then to be free. Because the word of me having peace is free. And to not always constantly thinking about that situation. I had to take the journey of letting it go. So me doing this is just an honor to see the amazing stories that I get to listen to, that they get to talk about how they came out and they are victorious. There are still like people that still fighting to get out and they just don't know what to do. So I'm like, why not create stories that they can, eventually maybe see or, hear and listen to and maybe give them an idea of where their out can be and how they can continue the journey without still being stuck in a toxic relationship or stuck in thinking that it was love and it's not.
Right.
So absolutely. Now, did you take the time out to start loving on yourself? Like, what was your tools that you did to start loving on yourself? Like gaining your self love and your self esteem and your self worth. Like, what did you do to do this for yourself?
First thing I had to stop doing was stress eating.
Okay.
I was stress eating so much after I left because I was stuck mentally.
Hmm.
I couldn't think about it getting better. All I could think about was how bad I had let how bad I had let things get. And so the depression was bad. So I'm eating healthier. I am doing more of the things that I love, reading, writing, trying to paint. I don't really paint pictures, but I do put a little background and I put my favorite quotes or scriptures on it and hang them up everywhere. Just taking better care of myself, um, dressing better. Like I let that situation break me so much to where my confidence was lower than what it was when I met him. And so
Right.
I have spent this time, building myself back up, learning who I am all over again. Um, and I'm still learning how to be me unapologetically. Like just
Right.
being okay with people saying I'm a weirdo, or I'm a nerd or whatever, and just knowing that I'm not into the same things that other people are into, and not thinking that something's wrong with me just because I'm not into what they're into. Just working on being better for myself and for my kids, and that's it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So did you ever take yourself out on a date?
I did not.
So let me tell you, okay, with me, what I did in my process of learning me again and getting comfortable in my own skin and, just acknowledging my self worth, I took those steps. Like I literally, I took myself to a concert. Actually, I took myself to a couple of concerts. I went out. I took myself like, so what I did was I dated myself. I'm like, okay, let's go out. So I went out for dinner. I went out to go to the movies, and this was just things I did weekly for me to understand what type of person I needed to, well, not even need, what type of person I want to be around me, because I want to have my own individual time but what are you bringing to my table if you're in my peaceful atmosphere?
Mm.
I put you in my boundary. So I had to learn what I wanted to allow and what I didn't want to allow, and learning the word to say no, and no, I don't want to do that, and speak up for myself, and not just let people walk all over me. So, definitely dating myself. It was fun. I learned a lot. I learned a lot by myself. I learned, different things that I liked and what I didn't like, and what my imperfections and my flaws, and it's fine. And I'm okay with that of who I am. But you got to be in that moment to be okay with that with yourself. And, people have to respect that and be ready for that, because we all have things that not gonna forever, like, we got flaws, and some of the flaws are not going anywhere. That's who we are, and it's like accepting it. Because do I know that my mouth is a mess and that I like to have the last word? Yes. Is it something I'm praying about? Absolutely. You know what I mean? So absolutely, I dated myself. It was fun though. I went to a Miguel concert.
Really?
Hmm. I
I need to
did.
try that. Need to just because I'm just waiting for either my friends or somebody to go somewhere with. I just
Listen.
need to go by myself.
And you know why? Like, I had to learn that too. Because when you wait and then say they don't want to go, say they don't go, or they can't go, or they don't have the money, or just whatever it is. And it's like, okay, so then you end up still in the house because you didn't go anywhere because you was waiting on other people. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to stop waiting. I'm going. I'm going to give the invite. If they come, great. If they don't, I'm still going to enjoy myself, because the more we wait on people, that's almost still like just waiting on a relationship, or you're waiting on somebody to help you enjoy life. And this is where let loose and be free come in at, to whereas you now get to be free to enjoy going to take a walk and smelling the roses without waiting on anybody to walk with you. You are able to go out and say, I'm going to get me something to eat, a nice porterhouse steak and some mashed potatoes, and sit at this table and have me a drink, and be okay and comfortable with that. Because
Did
once
it feel weird to you? No.
mm-mm, at first, I'm like, am I really doing this? But I had to get out, how you say, overthinking. I had to get out my head. Because it's almost just like you going to McDonald's, go get you something and come back home. So now you're going to, you get dressed up for you. You look good for you, and you get to buy yourself a meal for you. You're not waiting on nobody to do it. And when you do that, that's when you've learned what your self-worth is, because you're not waiting on nobody to give you these things. You're doing it for yourself. So when somebody's coming to your table, you know what you deserve and what you want. And you're not waiting on them to give you what your happiness is. You've already gotten it. They're just
Right.
adding to it.
Right.
And that's what I learned, that I don't need nobody to give it to me. They can add to it. That's more pleasure. But if they go on today, tomorrow, I'm still happy. It might hurt, but I'm still happy. And this is how we get in the motions of not having people break us down so bad, to whereas when the relationship is done, we can heal a lot easier and better because we're not solely dependent on them.
Right.
And a lot of times we be solely dependent on that relationship because that's all we know, and we lose ourselves. And we have to still have our individual identities. And see, when you have that individual identities, it's not that you feel like you're stuck at the hip with somebody. Because if they don't go with you and they're busy, you can still go somewhere. I'll be back. I'll see you later. You know, and
That's a
just
good
being able
idea.
to just take that time with yourself. Like, I did my pros and cons. Like, I wrote my pros of what I like about myself, and my cons what I felt that I didn't like, and decided on, okay, how am I going to fix the cons and make it better and comfortable for me, not for nobody else, for me. And it's just taking the steps to just go through the things with ourselves and dig deep of what we're trying to mellow out that's inside of us, that we be comfortable to just be at home and be Netflix and chilling by ourselves, and not feel like, oh, darn, I need to get somebody over here to have that attention. No, you're okay. You sit there. If you feel like you need attention, go pray. Or if you need attention, give it to yourself. What do you want to do? What are you trying to get from somebody else to give you at that moment?
Right.
And that way The more you do it, the better it feels. And it wouldn't even feel weird. It's just a natural thing. Like, all right, I'm about to go take a walk in the park and be okay with walking by myself. Or I'm about to go to the movies. I want to see this movie. I ain't waiting on my friends to go. I extend the invitation. But if they don't, I'm going. Let's go. I'm going to see that. Because I had people asking, it was like, you went to the concert by yourself? Yeah. Why? Because I offered it to people and they didn't go. And I remember times people I would offer, and I'll be like, oh, and you'll get to that point, be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna pay for it. Don't worry, come on. You get tired of spending your money on people when you can spend it on yourself. So, it's like, okay, I'm putting myself in this category to where it's just like, look, if they don't go, I'm still going, and I'm gonna be comfortable with that. Because I went to I think it was a gospel concert and had like Fred Hammond and mad different Donnie McClurkin, just mad different people. And at first I didn't want to go by myself. And in that part I was kind of also fearing because going through domestic violence, you don't want to move around by yourself too. So you had
Right.
that lingering. So I had to get out of that part of fearing because I had to learn, fear not. God is there. He's gonna
All the
protect me. You know
time.
what I mean? So it's like what's supposed to happen will happen. So I'm gonna go outside and I'm gonna do what's comfortable for me. And I just got comfortable in my own skin and just like, listen, this is what it is. Like it, love it or not, this is me. So
Yeah. I haven't made it to the outside part yet, but I have made it to the point where I'm okay being by myself.
right.
Now if somebody comes along then and they're a good addition or a good fit to me
Yeah.
and my kids, then that's fine. But I'm okay with binge watching a good show in my bed. I turn my phone off, like I turn my
Yeah.
ringer off just so I can have, no interruptions. Instead of looking at my phone every time it dings or something.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm at the point where I'm okay alone. I don't fear being alone anymore. But I haven't. I need to try going somewhere by myself.
It'll be great, I'm telling you. And then I learned to just take my kids out too. You know, it's like taking them out also was another way for me to bond with myself because I got to talk with them. We had conversations. And this is what I do with my girls now. I call it girl time. When we go out, I'll get their nails painted or I'll paint their nails in the house or we'll go for a walk. So, I also bonded with my kids as well. So listen, if there's nobody around, I'm perfectly fine. I got my babies.
Right.
I'm good. But I'm telling you, try it. It might feel weird the first time. And if it feels weird, you can call me and be like, hey, how am I going to do this? It's fine. I got you. I got you. Because when I be telling people sometimes, they be like, what? I'm like, listen, it's just finding that comfortability to step out your box. Because when you get uncomfortable, it feels weird. But when you try new things, it might be something you actually might like.
That's a good idea.
And like even with your painting, like I paint too, like how you said you paint and you put the positive scriptures and the words in. Like what I do is I use masses. Um, I use the mask from the craft store.
Hmm.
I use those and I paint on them and I put words on them as inspiring to where I get to look at the mask and get that powerfulness of getting affirmations and stuff, when I wake up in the morning. And then also like I do a workshop to where I teach people to where they can paint it any color or whatever and they can put whatever words on it. If they feel negative, if they feel a negative vibe at that moment, it's fine. Because I call that the looking in the mirror. They got a chance to look at exactly how they feel at that moment. And what are you gonna do about it? And at times we have to do these internal checks. We have to figure out what we're dealing with because mentally our mind be spinning and running. So we gotta, walk the journey.
Hmm.
It can be real interesting. Telling you. But you got this. You will get through it. It will be great. It'll be awesome. Listen, I'm telling you. So, if you had an opportunity in life to change something, would you change anything from your past? And why?
Hmm. If you would have asked me this a few years ago, I would have gave you a list of things, but um, just not saying that I liked any of the things that happened to me, but just reading the Bible and seeing the underdog stories and everything that they went through. Had they not gone through each of those things, they would not have become who they were. So yes, my past it has a lot of heartache and pain, but I'm mature today because of the things that I went through. I'm responsible today because of the things that I went through. I'm a good mom because of the things that I went through. So, had I not gone through those things, I could be raising some screwed up kids right now.
Right.
So, I mean, it hurt, but God is he is giving beauty for ashes. So, all those ashes he's making it something beautiful. I didn't see it then,
Yeah.
so it was like, why me? Why am I going through this? Why is this happening? But the end is greater than the beginning.
Absolutely. And that's things we have to teach people, like like I get asked that question, and like you said, what we went through wasn't all nice, but it made you the person that you are now. So the ability to be able to survive through that tragedy and trauma and toxicness, you're here to stand strong through victory now. So it's totally awesome, like awesome, awesome. That's all I can say. Awesome, awesome. Now, so the viewers or the later viewers, what would be the message you would like to deliver them today from your story and from your past?
Um, it may not seem like it, but when you go through things that are tough, you have to try not to want like question why is this happening to me or why me. And there's a song Tasha Page Lockhart, it's called Why Not Me. And so when you get that mentality, you're going through it because God thinks you can handle it. He thinks you're strong enough to handle it. Now, yes, we do get in situations that we put ourselves in, which is why it's important to make sure you are whole and love yourself before any relationship, friendship, anything. And before you try to do anything in life, you have to make sure you're healed in all areas. Otherwise, you're going to end up making some bad choices, or you're going to end up in situations, and that's more stuff you're going to have to heal from. Um, as painful as it is, we have to do the work. And if you end up in an abusive situation, then you have to ask yourself why you're staying. Um, I even had it in my head that I deserved it because that was my punishment for some of the things that I had done. And so if I had been, healing, that's the number one thing. Make
Mm-hmm.
sure you are healed. Make sure you have confidence. Make sure you have a relationship with God. I know some people don't believe in God, but
Yeah.
this is my advice.
Right.
If it wasn't for him, I would be gone. I would not be here. So, you have to be whole before doing anything, and you have to heal from all your past trauma. I just saw a quote. It said, heal what hurt you or you'll bleed on people that didn't cut you.
Mm,
So
listen.
you got to live by stuff like that. And now I'm just at the point where I don't mind talking about my pain because I don't think God allowed me to survive all these different things just to be like, okay, I'm a survivor. But nobody knows. But I'm over here saying to myself, I'm a survivor, but I'm not helping anybody.
Right. You're not
So,
giving any nuggets and gems to anybody to help them heal through their next steps.
right. And I had to get to a point where I wasn't afraid to talk about the pain. We
Right.
live in a culture, and especially with social media, people are so harsh and rude. So that's another monster you got to tackle. But just getting the confidence to be able to share your story without worrying about the judgment, because there will be judgment.
Yes.
Just not worrying about the judgment and doing what's best for you, no matter what it is and no matter what anybody says about it.
Now, have you ever got asked the question? Like, I remember when I actually first went through my situation, and I had it to where people was like, "Oh, well, why did she stay, or why did she go back, and why didn't you tell nobody? Like, did you go through, or people was just in like, it was just mad different things, and it just felt like people were blaming me, and it's just
Yes,
like
I
how,
went through that. Even to the point where I remember one day I was woken up out of my sleep and I heard it was the Holy Spirit. And the Holy Spirit said, if you don't leave right now, he's gonna kill you. And so I left, but then, you listening to this person, why would you supposed to forgive? And it says, till death do us part. And God wouldn't tell you to leave your husband because he loves marriage. And, all these different things. It was a lot of comments that made me second guess or made me feel bad, because I had stayed, or oh, you had to be doing something because, oh, this person wasn't like this before.
mm-hmm,
And they just got with me and they just decided to start being abusive. So, you know, and that stuff hurts too, because especially when you're already overthinking, it's in the back of
yeah,
your mind all the time. Like, okay, could I have done something? Is there something going on with me?
right,
Did I change him? And just got to be able to conquer it all and not worry about that, because it's easy for people to say, what you should do, or to say you're doing something because of this when they're not in it. You never went
right,
through it. So you
right.
can say a whole bunch of things.
Absolutely. And we got to be mindful of what we say, because you don't know how bad they trauma and everything been through. So to actually post blame on them, they're already blaming themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, mentally, did you thought about that before you made that statement? And if it was you, would you like somebody to deliver that towards you? You know, if that was you going through that. So, people have to be mindful on their deliberation and what they say, because they don't know truly what and how much stuff they've been through and why they were in these relationships.
Right. People don't listen enough to understand and show compassion. They just listen and they just give their opinions. They
Yep.
don't walk a mile in your shoes. They don't even try to put your shoes on to
No.
see where you coming from. They just give their opinion, and because they don't try to understand, they think, okay, well, this is what I think, so it has to be
Mhm.
that. No, you have to try to understand people no matter what it is that's going on. And I've always tried to do that. I try to understand people no matter how bad it is. Even with my ex-husband, I tried to understand why he did the things that he did. I still showed him compassion afterwards. And people thought I was stupid for that, but I'm not going to hold a grudge. I'm not going to be hateful. God will avenge me, and he has. So I mean, everybody does something for a reason, and hurt people.
Right. You know.
He had things that he needed to work on.
Correct. And I was just about to say that. I'm like, it's probably some things that he needed to work through, reason why he decided to be abusive, and he decided to throw his judgment and his insecurities onto you instead of putting them through himself, because he didn't want to work through it. Like to this day, it's hard, because I forgave both of my abusers, but it was a hard walk to to do that, because
Hmm.
like my last abuser, I wanted to hate every gut of
Yeah.
that person, like I really did. But I had to remember that God forgives us for our sins, so I have to forgive them for theirs, and I have to let it go for myself, not for them. So absolutely, I understand all of that, and I definitely send healing your way for everything else that you're walking through this process. And I know You're gonna get through it, and it's gonna be an amazing light on the other side. And I can't wait to hear about this date you going on by yourself. Like, I'm waiting on that. I'm waiting on all those things. Like, girl, what happened? How was it? Now, do you do anything special as in October? Because October is domestic violence month, awareness month. Like, do you do anything that anybody can follow you or join in to it during that month or anything?
I haven't because well, I did the anthology. Well, no,
Okay.
I didn't do that one. But my friend, she did an anthology on domestic violence. Um, I do my own thing here,
Mhm.
but this is the first year I'm really using my voice. So I'm going to start doing things. I'm trying to connect with people. I want to get involved in the domestic violence shelters in my area, just any way that I can share my story and help,
Right.
help other women that are just on the fence or just needing somebody to, understand where they're coming from.
And that's definitely a great, like, I go back to the shelter. Well, during COVID, I haven't been there in a while. But I used to, I called it the survival circle. So I would go there, and like I told them, I never come to be as a person like, oh, I wrote 2 books and I've had a no. I come to let you understand, like, I went through the walk that you're walking through right now, and I know it's not easy. And yeah, we they have a counselor there to talk to y'all, but to talk to somebody that's literally walked through what you walked through is a big difference. And being able to show you that there is healing, and you deserve to heal. Like, it takes steps, it takes work. I still have the triggers. I'm not showing up like I'm just all healed, but it's a mission through the mission. So let me help you walk through the mission while you go through the trial. So absolutely, getting involved in the shelter is a great way to give back from what you've been through, to help the ladies or the women that, I mean, the men or the women that went through what they're going through and stuff. Also, another thing, like, I do a fundraiser, you know, and last year I had to do it online, which I probably do it online again this year as well. But I think along with it, and if you would, I probably have you come back and do another, storytelling within that month, because in that month I go real hard as far as promoting projects, like doing different, like virtual uh events and stuff, just to get the word out, have the conversation. And also, I'm gonna send you my documentary that I did, so you'll be able to watch that as well. And just being able to share is a great start, because
Mhm.
that's where it all starts at. Because when you start using your voice, then it becomes you speaking for the people that can't speak for themselves. You giving them a voice because they're not able to open their mouths, or the people that died because they didn't get a chance to be able to open their mouths. And just being able to have a voice for the people that can't have a voice for themselves, or they're too afraid to speak. It's our time to speak for them and let people understand that what's going on. And with this domestic violence, is really deadly, and it's not okay. Like, people's lives are literally on the line. And
Mhm.
sometimes I think with the situation, the cops take it as a joke as well, because I remember a time I had a restraining order and the person showed up where I was. I called the cops and they was like, oh, they were just in the area. No, that's not what happened. Like, when a person comes off the elevator after you got off the elevator and they were supposed to be going on the elevator and go downstairs, and they come back and come where you at, that's harassment.
Right.
That's not that they're supposed to be nowhere near me. Yes, we're in the same building, so they were supposed to leave. And it's just like, why did you not arrest the person when I'm telling you what's going on? So I was so frustrated. Like, so sometimes I think the cops just be trying to play with people's lives, and who wants to
Yeah.
be trying? No, my life is way more important than that. So we not playing those games. So
I
after.
think they should take every call seriously. I know there are people that abuse the system,
Mhm.
and you know, they. I know back home when I was in Louisiana, I had the same issue with some of the cops, and they just thought they would think that women were overreacting,
Mm-hmm.
but you can't say that they're overreacting if you don't show up. And it
Right.
happens to some men too. It's not just
Right.
women that get abused. There are men that get abused, but they don't take it seriously enough
Nope.
until things are drastic. Like I remember calling and saying, and my ex-husband, he's riding around, he said he has a gun and he's looking for me.
Mm.
Well, we don't know what he's driving or where he could be, so we're not gonna go look for him. I'm like, oh,
So they just waiting on you to get shot. Then
basically,
they want to come.
basically,
And that's what I'm saying. Like, you know, it needs to be stronger laws. Like, this is some real serious situations. Like, we're not playing with our lives. So why are you?
yeah,
You know? And that is just, it's sad. It's sad that they don't take it as serious. And, you know, for them to look at verbal and mental abuse as it's just not as, you know, if you don't physically see it, it's not abuse. But that's not true,
right.
because
It's
those
not.
are the ones that stick a whole lot harder, because
Hmm.
mentally and verbal abuse is in, you hear it and you're sitting there and you're breaking me down mentally, and then you're sitting here, you know, just doing all these things. You hear these words repeatedly, so it's like in your head it takes you down the spiral. Then when you black out and trip, you know, bug out on somebody else, then you the bad guy. So it's
Right.
like, you know, they have to start looking at these situations as real as it truly is.
That's definitely true. I saw I think I was watching Homicide Hunter, and it was talking about the woman who it was a lady who had been getting abused. She had a restraining order and all these other things, and they did nothing. And so she ended up killing her husband, I think. And she went to jail. I'm like,
What? Wait. How?
because he didn't hit her at the time that she shot him. But I'm like, but she had been abused for years. He
What that
still came
was?
and he was verbally antagonizing her. So, not saying he deserved to die, but
Yeah.
still, he's antagonizing her, and I'm trying to place myself there. I know I'm gonna be thinking about all the other times and what he could do. He's
Mm-hmm.
unpredictable. I don't know. And I'm like, so she goes to jail in a second, but y'all did nothing to protect her from him.
Yep. And that's the sad part about it, you know, that you're not protecting the victim. Like, you just, because you don't see a black eye or anything
Hmm.
on my eye, you're sitting there, you're verbal, you know, they're verbally and mentally abusing you, and to the law it's not abuse. And it's like, just because you don't see no scratches or no black eye doesn't mean that it's not real.
It's crazy.
It
And it is really crazy.
it
I got lucky with being able to get I got full custody of my kids, and he was granted supervised visits, and I did he didn't it wasn't a lot of physical. It was more so, like you said, the verbal, the mental, the emotional, the psychological.
Mhm.
Um Even to the point where I was pregnant and didn't realize he had been drugging me. And
Wait. Back up.
yes,
What?
drugging me, yes.
Wow.
Now I have migraines really bad, and
Mhm.
when you're pregnant, you have bad toothaches. And I
Yeah.
know I wasn't supposed to be taking BC powders, but I was in pain.
Mhm.
And one day I was sitting by a lamp and I opened my BC and I'm just about to take it with my Coke, and I see sparkly stuff in it. And he just started laughing and he was like, oh, you just now realizing that? I'm like, what are you talking about? So he had been crushing up, like, who takes the time to crush pills up, open somebody's BC powder paper, put the crushed up pills in it, and then close it back?
Wow.
He wanted me to be passed out so that he could take my money. Um And a lot of people, oh, well, your husband can't rape you. Well, I didn't want to have sex with him, and he did it while I was barely conscious. So
Yeah,
that that's sexual assault to me.
absolutely.
And
You didn't okay it, so no, that's not okay.
yeah, it was more psychological than
Yeah.
anything.
Well, hun, I know you were gonna walk this journey and be strong through it. I want you to tell them where to follow you and find your books. And definitely in October, I hope to have you back so we can get more into these conversations of letting loose and be free.
Yes, let me know. I'm happy.
Absolutely.
Now that I've opened
Absolutely.
my mouth, I'm
Look, I got you on my list. I'm definitely will contact you.
um
Absolutely.
but on Facebook I am Florencia author Free Flow Freeman, and Instagram I am I_am_free_flow. And TikTok, I don't know if that's even relevant. My students have me doing that stuff. Is Miss Free to you? I don't really do Snapchat. I don't
I don't
see
either.
the
Don't feel bad.
purpose. Like,
Listen, I'm only on TikTok for business, so I get it. Don't feel listen. That's it. Nothing more. I put my books on there. That's all you get. I ain't doing nothing else. But I thank you and I am honored and happy that you came by to let loose and be free with Sheena, the author. It's been an amazing conversation. I will be in touch with you. Matter of fact, do me a favor when you get off, can you send me your address as well? Put it in my
okay,
inbox.
okay,
And
I
I
will.
want to thank you for coming through to let loose and be free and
Thank you for
continue to.
having me.
No problem. No
Despite the
problem.
technical difficulties and my blonde moment about the
It's
time
all right. We
zone.
got through it. Look, and I'm blonde too. It's look, under hair is red, but I got some blonde going on. I dyed my hair. It's all right.
Oh man.
Listen, it is perfectly
Okay.
fine. You listen, it was an awesome conversation. I hope people be able to get their healing through this, and we're gonna continue all month to let loose and be free. So I thank you, and I will be chatting with you soon, hun.
All right. Bye.
Bye bye. Thank you, guys. As always, I appreciate you for joining us for Let Loose and Be Free. I'm gonna take a small commercial break, and we will be back with my second guest after these messages.
Hi, I just want everyone to understand that the poetry that I wrote walking down that path was a trying time in my life. And a lot of times we go through things. And we take those walks, and you need someone to take the walk down that path with you for them to understand the rough time that you went through. You don't want no one to judge you from what you went through. You don't want no one to look at you different from where you've been. You don't want them to see the hurt. You don't want nobody to see you crying. You don't want nobody to see your pain. But this is when you have to ask someone to walk that journey with you because it's hard. You know, I needed some.
Welcome back. And now we are bringing on another Miss Author, Ashley. Ashley, how are you, darling?
I am well. How are you?
I am awesome. I can't complain. We here with the land and the living.
I know that's right. I know that's right.
Listen, after these rough times, we got to just be happy and say thank you, Lord, for being here for another day.
I know. I know. I have this saying where I say, if I could complain, I wouldn't. I just wouldn't. If I could, I wouldn't, because like you said, I'm glad to be here.
Right, absolutely. So, Ashley, can you please tell them who you are and where you're from?
Absolutely. So I just want to first say thank you for the invitation to be on with the author with Shayna. It's a pleasure. Thank you for opening up your platform. Listen, you have no idea the generations that you're going to impact with your show. So I'm excited to be a part of your legacy. So a little bit about me. I'm the only child. I always tell people that that's the first thing. I'm the only child, so I don't understand what it means to have a lot of noise, a lot of people. I'm the only child, but guess what? I have 4 kids. And I'm like,
Okay.
really? So I'm a wife of 16 years, 4 kids. I'm now an author, haven't always been an author. By trade, I'm a probation officer. Um,
Okay.
by profession. So I'm a certified Christian counselor, certified spiritual life coach. I am the owner of Elite Writing Services, which is a self-publishing company where I help first-time authors publish their books. And I also host deliverance and healing classes for people that have been molested and want to be free from molestation.
Look at you, girl. Look at you. Run that down. Listen, let loose and be free is on point tonight.
Come
Yes.
on, come on,
Come
come
on.
on.
Listen, let me hear it. Listen. Amen. Amen. Look, it's an honor that you accepted my invitation, because I like this let loose and be free. I just feel that people need to let it loose, be
Yeah,
free, and be able to just be okay that, yeah, I went through that, but I'm okay now. I'm
yeah,
not just a survivor. I'm living. I am
yeah,
here and I'm victorious through all the trauma and the toxicness that I've been through. So,
yeah,
the Lord dropped in my spirit that said, hey, open your platform and, do some survival stories. So I'm like,
wow.
okay, I'm going to be obedient and I'm going to open it up. So I'm like, Lord, you got to give me a title though. Like, what am I going to call this?
Yeah,
So I'm sitting in the bed and let loose and be free came. I'm like, yep, that's it. Let
that's
loose
it.
and be free. That's it. And what's crazy is the picture I had was my picture I took for my birthday. And it was, me just letting loose and be free, just
Yeah,
jumping in the air. And I was like, that fits right there.
it
Let
did.
loose, be free. Just
That's
enjoy
right.
life.
Yes.
So now tell me, how now with your survival story, how did it happen? Like what happened?
So my story started at 5.
Okay.
Like I said, I was the only child. My mom was an alcoholic. My dad stayed in prison his entire life. I knew of dad. I knew dad loved me, but
Right.
his life story was prison. So a relative of mine raised me, and my cousin began to molest me from 5 all the way, to 6. I ended up being in the newspaper because of it was aggravated sexual assault um, of a child under 6, and he got life
Wow.
with parole.
Wow.
So, and not only that, I was in the paper at 5 years old, 6 years old, um, and my business was already out. God was already putting me in the forefront, but it
Mhm.
was hurt and shame.
Yeah.
Um, he also gave me many diseases that as a child I had to go get treated for. And I thank God that I don't have any diseases to this day.
Amen.
Yeah, that was a blessing. And so um that's kind of how my journey of life began, and then I end up going live with my grandmother, and then my grandfather began to molest me as well. So I went from one prison to the
To
next,
another.
and so all of this lasted till about 11 years old, and then he went to prison. And again, I thought I was ready. I thought I'm free.
Hmm.
Nobody's going to abuse me anymore. But I didn't know that those seeds that had been planted in me were getting ready to come up in my teenage years. And so promiscuousness, just rebellion, all of that started to manifest. And I left home at 14. I told my grandmother I can't do it no more. So I left home at 14, and I end up getting sexually assaulted at 16
Wow.
um, in a bathroom, and I end up getting pregnant from that rape. And so as of right now, I have a 19-year-old that came out of that rape at the age of 16. And then went to school and everything, graduated, fell in love with a crush, and he began to beat me. That
Mm.
was just, I mean, as a kid, you're growing up, you really don't know what's right or wrong. Nobody's there to tell you, nobody's supposed to put their hands on you. I didn't
Right.
have that. I didn't have that. I saw my mom always fighting with her boyfriend. So,
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was normal. I thought that was normal behavior, but it wasn't. So, that just put me on a journey of a downward spiral. Like, I got into ecstasy. That was my favorite drug. I got into homosexuality. I began prostitution with food. It was just a downward cycle, of how I started. But can I say something? I'm
Yes, you
not
can.
I'm not there no more.
Yes.
I'm not there no more.
Listen, I see the victory. I see
that's the
it.
that is the victory. But I had to go through that.
Right.
I had to go through that. And what happened was, I was thinking about you earlier today on what was I going to say. And
Mm-hmm.
I thought about the pivotal point for me, because I think all of us have a pivotal point where something changes.
Yes.
And I believe that when I got sick and tired of him hitting on me and beating on me, pulling my hair down, making me feel ugly,
Right.
making me embarrassed, I said, God, now mind you, I didn't have a relationship with God, didn't know nothing, didn't want to know nothing about God.
Mm-hmm.
But that just goes to show, I said, God, if you get me out of this, come on. If you get me out of this, I don't want, either he gonna die or I'm gonna die, or we both gonna die.
Right.
And God heard me. Like, he heard me. And I didn't have a relationship with him.
Mm-hmm.
So when people in the church say God don't hear sinners' prayers, that's a lie.
Absolutely, it is.
He heard me, and he rescued me. And so um that he actually heard me by sending the guy away for 8 years. And that's when I ended up meeting my husband.
Oh,
So yeah,
oh, look, so that little you know.
oh.
Oh.
um so I can't say, I'll say this. We think that we have a plan. We think that everything that happened to us, it just happened to us, but it's always a reason behind what happened to us. And just like God is using you with your platform, that's what I do now. I use my story to be able to help others that don't have a voice. And I feel like
Absolutely.
you're giving people a voice by letting us let loose and be free, because nobody don't want to talk about real stuff.
No, they don't. And it's crazy because I remember when I first started, being, giving people the opportunity to, be able to talk about their domestic violence. And like I started back in 2018. That's
Hmm.
when, I was, going through my transformation through my trauma. And so about 2019 is when I'm like, I'm starting to open up and speak. And, at first, to now see how God opened it for me to have people come on my platform. Because I remember when I tried this before, and it wasn't nobody wanting to speak about it. They didn't want to talk about it. It was no reaction to, people ready to be let loose and be free. And I just feel that, he made it to where it's time now. Like, people need to speak up, and they need to open and use their voice and be ready to fight, to understand that you deserve to live, you deserve to heal, and you deserve to be in a better version of yourself.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. Now, during this trying time, like, how hard was it to even get into the relationship you are now? Because I know after going through all that, how was it actually getting into another relationship after all that trauma?
Well, it wasn't that easy. It's never easy to leave the abuser. It's
Right.
never that easy. So even though he was in prison, I found myself still going to visit him in prison. So I find my husband now, he finds me, and I'm like, look, I got somebody. He in prison. And
Mhm.
my husband was like, cool. No, no problem. He's like, cool. So I end up getting pregnant. So I'm like, how am I going to tell him? Because when they're in prison, they think you living faithful.
Mhm.
It wasn't even like that. I was
Right.
completely out of control. So when I got pregnant with my second son, my husband and I then got married, but then that didn't change our relationship because I
Right.
found myself beating on my husband. I found myself
Got you.
putting my hands on him, throwing things at him. And thank God my husband has never lifted a
Yeah.
hand, but I became the abuser.
Right.
So that's how my marriage started. My marriage didn't start the happy, oh, we all in love.
Mm-hmm.
No, it started in abuse.
Right.
And so it was very difficult being married and being the abuser because I
Mm-hmm.
had just come out of being abused. And it's funny how that changed, but that was anger.
Yep.
That was all of that anger that I never let out on the first guy. I
Mm-hmm.
took it out on the innocent guy. And I think a lot of us do that.
Mm-hmm.
We leave one situation, we leave one relationship where it's unhealthy, and then we find ourselves in another relationship and it's toxic as well. But I believe I found the understanding of why we do that is because we don't take time to heal from the past. I mean, literally
Absolutely.
from in our childhood up. We
Mm-hmm.
don't take the time and space to sit down and be still and let God heal us. Let cry, be mad, go through the grieving process because anytime a relationship ends, there's a grieving process. And
Right.
so I think we rush too quick into the next relationship and then we find ourselves in another cycle again.
Yes, absolutely. Like it's real crazy because like you saying that I remember being angry and I remember like being in a relationship and I just was angry and I was just like I don't want to deal with nobody and it's like just leave me alone and it's crazy especially when you're trying to heal and you got somebody pursuing you and it's like you want to be in a better space and then you get in a relationship and it's just things happen and
Yeah.
your triggers are popping up.
Yeah.
So during
Yeah.
this process, how did you get your triggers and your anger together? What did you do?
Now people laugh at it now. It's funny now. It wasn't funny then. So I became a probation officer, and one night I went to raise my hand at my husband, and I think my husband had had enough, and he punched the door. He punched
Yeah.
the door, and he said, "I'm calling the police." And when he said that, my whole career flashed before me
Yeah.
because I can't go to jail as a probation officer. That's
Right.
the end of my career. So believe it or not, I called my mom. My mom said, "Girl, you better get in that bed and go to sleep and leave that boy alone." You better believe I got in the bed,
You
went
went
to
to
sleep,
sleep.
and left him alone. That was probably almost 15 years ago. I've never raised my hand at him again.
That
It
was
was
that
just
woo.
it
That
was
was that
just
wake up call.
that was it. That's all it took. Because everything began to I understood like this is my career. So if I go
Mm-hmm.
get a criminal background, I'm not gonna be able to do anything. So that's how I was able to God delivered me instantly that night from, hitting on him. But then all of the anger, it didn't go away. I just had to bottle it up. And it started coming out in different ways. So then I'll
Right.
start throwing things. I started throwing different stuff. I started yelling, slamming doors. So it wasn't until I went through deliverance and inner healing, it was a 21-week class that I went through. And God just really, He allowed me a space and time to really deal with myself, the rejection, the abandonment, the
Mm-hmm.
frustration, the abuse. And in those 21 weeks, I went through a metamorphosis. And it was in that metamorphosis. I don't know if you've ever seen the life cycle of a butterfly, but
Mm-hmm.
there's a point when it crystallizes and it becomes liquid.
Yeah.
It becomes nothing. And that's what God brought me to. I had to get to the point of crystallization where I became nothing. And when I became nothing, then God said, okay, now I can use you for my glory. And
Yes.
so that was in 2017. And ever since 2017, I've been doing deliverance classes, helping other women get to the freedom that God has brought me through.
Look at that. Now, what are the tools that you tell them on like how to heal through this process of trauma?
So the number one tool is transparency, being vulnerable. We, if I could say this, we as African American people don't know how to be vulnerable because we're taught to suck it up. You're a strong woman. We're taught to sweep it under the rug. But one of the number one tools for freedom is vulnerability and transparency. That's the number one tool.
Right.
Number two, I would have to say you got to believe that it's possible, because we hear a lot of stuff, but until you really believe it can happen, nothing's going to change. Number three, if I had to give a third, I would say go through the process and be committed, because we're quick to start stuff. We start stuff all the time, but when it get hard, we quit.
Right. Because it's too rough.
It's too rough. I don't want to feel that. I'm not used to crying.
Yep.
So I teach them how to, number one, I create a safe space. Once you get a woman in a safe space, vulnerable, transparent, freedom, God comes in and he does the work. Seriously, hands down, he comes in and floods the place. And with those tools of transparency and vulnerability, he wins all the time.
Absolutely. Now, for the people that never, well, shall I say, going through the situation they might be going through now or just getting out of it, what would you give them the signs of actually seeing the red flags beforehand? Because some people they miss it, or they mistake it as, oh, that's love, or all the things that we try to make it as other than what it truly is, that's sitting right in front of the face.
That's a good question. That's a question. So a flag would be, he wants to control everything. When you get someone that want to control everything, that is a flag right there. I know for me, a repetitive cycle was I would always give him my car while I went to work. He always wanted to be in my car while I went to work. Well, I'll just drop you off. Instead of me being a woman and driving my own car to work, he would take the car. So I feel like one red flag would be control. Number two, I would say, is starting to isolate you from family and friends. I think those two are the most common that I've came across.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah,
they
I
definitely
think that's
are.
common.
Definitely are.
Another flag that I would have to say would be that person is very insecure himself. If he's very insecure, then he's gonna make you insecure. Yeah, because
Amen.
I think we come out the womb strong. I think we come out because that's who God made us.
Right.
That's who we are as a people. We are a strong people, but then we allow our other people to basically strip us of our identity.
Absolutely. We get lost. We get lost in the situations. And, sometimes we forget what our true, self-worth is. We've been, scripting, broken down so much, because I like with my relationships, the way it was, it started off all nice and sweet, because it's crazy. Both of my domestic violence, it didn't happen till 3 years in. Like, mind you, I was with them for a whole 3 years. Wow. And then everything else comes out later. And, I just be like, and this is why my books are titled The Mask Behind the Mask, and I'm breaking the pieces of a mask, because I felt that people had masks on for 3 years and then popped out with all this other stuff. Why you ain't just did it at the beginning so we can just cut it at the top?
It took 3 years. It took you 3 years to come out.
Listen, stop playing. So, I choose to ask this question because some people they mistakenly certain things as, the control. Oh, well, he just want me to put that on, or oh, he doesn't mean that I can be with my friends. He just don't want me to be out too long. Just all the different extra stuff that we make excuses for.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, and I ask these questions to give people the understanding that this was truly is control. Like control is they really trying to control your life, and that's gonna end up them trying to take your life at the end.
You better say that.
So
That's true.
I just want people to understand, and this is another reason we're let loose and be free is to also educate people. Like the things that you going through and you see when somebody show you their face, that's truly who they are. Let's not make excuses for who we trying to fix them to be. You know,
Yeah.
how you say you see a good person in there, you see it, but is it there right now? And how is your relationship gonna be in the midst of that? Because
That's
we
right.
always trying to fix somebody.
That's right. Maya Angelou said it. She said, when a person shows you who they really are, believe them.
Believe it. Listen, absolutely.
Believe them.
I've learned and I see
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Listen.
I'm looking. And even I think if we would have more platforms of people like this talking about the signs and awareness, people being free to tell their stories, I think that the numbers would definitely come down.
Right.
Um, I think we get so caught up in us,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm depressed, I'm sad. But what about the generation behind us?
Right.
Like we got to heal for them, because if not,
Absolutely.
it's going to be a vicious cycle, you
Right.
know. And when you were talking about the clues, like, man, if somebody, and then I think back would I have listened though, you
And
know?
that's the other thing. Like we're so strong minded. It's like it's my relationship. Why are you worrying about it? I'm gonna do what I want to do. I don't. Or even where we settle, because another way emotionally that we get abused too, because we get so comfortable. Like, oh well, he with me, and just because he going out there, he coming back home to me, and we just so comfortable with that, and that's
Yeah.
not okay because you're allowing yourself to be disrespected and
Yeah.
be just being run over because you
Yeah.
feel that you're in love with this person. That's not what love looks like. If he
That's
truly
right.
love you, he won't be out there.
He
So
won't.
with these conversations, I want people to understand that you have to value yourself and you have to
Yeah.
understand that you are worth more than you are settling for, and it's not a comfortable. Don't get too comfortable to sit in that space to say, oh well, it's okay. No, it's not okay,
Yeah. No, I
because
agree.
you got to learn your respect values and what's peaceful for you, because you're tormenting yourself emotionally because you're in love with this person and you're allowing them to disrespect you in the moment. So
Yeah.
truly, what are you doing in the midst of that moment?
Yeah. I agree. Uh, that self value,
Mm-hmm.
that right there, that's a whole course.
Yeah, it
That's not
is.
a look.
It
That's not a
is.
class.
No, that's a
That's a
whole
course.
course. And it might be an extra course on the side because you got some other underlayers that you got to learn about that self value after
Okay.
you learn the
Self
first value.
esteem.
Yep.
Insecure, being secure,
Mm-hmm.
knowing who we are. I think, yeah, we don't take, we want it quick. That's
Yeah.
that's that's our generation. We want everything quick, and I'm guilty of it. I'm like, Lord, come on with this process. I'm ready
I,
for the next, but it's
mm-hmm.
in the process that I get the most value.
Right.
That's when I get the wisdom, because if I don't take time, and I think every lady that listens to this, if you don't take the time in the process, you're going to miss the value of the process.
Right.
And
You
that's
know,
important. Yeah,
it
that's
is.
important.
It's very important. And Miss Free, I asked her, I said, if it was any part of your life, if you had a chance to change it, would you? So I'm gonna ask you the same question. Is there any part in your life would you change anything?
Ooh,
Yeah, I'm going deep. I'm not playing no games today. Yep.
you know, I believe in transparency. I'm thankful for where I am today, but if I could do it all over again, just to be real and honest, yeah, I would.
And
I just, and that's, a lot of, I hear a lot of people say, no, I appreciate it. Nah, not me. If I could change my story, I would. Am I grateful for my story now because I'm free to be able to
mhm.
talk about my story? Yes. But I absolutely would change my story.
And listen, it's nothing. It's like you said, some people be like no, and then some people be like yes. So I throw it out there and I give people chance to just dig inside just a little bit. Like I said, let loose and be free.
Yeah,
And
that one went deep. I was like, because I was thinking, like, what kind of questions she gonna ask me? I wasn't ready for that one. I kind of been on top of on the ones you've been throwing out, and then you hit me with that one. I was like, whoa, ooh,
and
that's one that I'm gonna ponder on even when this over.
right. And like I said, I do certain things and I throw these little wrenches in there because the thing about it is a lot of times we have to process truly who we are. And
Yeah,
we have to process our heart and process how we truly feel mentally to
yeah.
understand ourselves as a value. So you have to ask the question, like, in my life, is there anything in my past would I change? And we have to ask these hard questions. And I'm one that throws in them cue balls to ask those hard questions right quick to be like, let me
That
make you think for a second.
that one got stuck right here.
Look, you need some water? You all
I,
right?
I gotta get some water after this.
But
Yeah.
it's definitely a thing to understand who you are. So with this mission and your life coaching and all the fabulous things you're doing, tell us about your book.
So I have four books. The first one is Break the Silence, Setting
Mhm.
Captives Free by Sharing My Story. And then there's part two to that, which is The War Within. So it's Break the
Okay.
Silence, part two, The War Within. The third book is a 21-day marriage journal challenge where I challenge women that are really in hard marriages to pray on purpose for 21 days for their spouse and watch God move. I mean, He does. It's a game changer. That's why I wrote it because it changed me. Um, and then my fourth book that just came out is Journey to Freedom: Healing After Molestation. Those are the four books that I have.
Now, is there any key things you could throw out to people that say somebody that is trying to heal from sexual assault? Like, give about three key things that you might would give them, to just help them through that portion, that walk, because that walk is definitely not easy.
Three things that I would give to someone. Number one, tell God straight up. Tell God to get you out. Nobody else can get you out. He can. That's the first thing because He got me out. Number two, I'm a big advocate of therapy. I would say pray about finding a therapist to start the process of healing. And the third one I would say is journal. Begin to journal. Journals are 50 cents, dollar store. Begin to write out. Begin to start writing out your pain because as you write, you are releasing.
Absolutely. Listen, look, you see our life coaching over there? I tell you, look, that's what I'm talking about over here. Now, if you had a toolbox and you had to give it to somebody that's going through domestic violence, what would be those six things that you put in there for their toolbox?
Man, woo! All right, the six things I will put in the toolbox. Um, Number one, a pen. Number two, a journal. Number three, some Kleenex. Number four, the Bible. Number five, what would be the fifth thing that I give them? A picture of their family. And the sixth thing that I would give them is a card that says, you can and you will.
All right. See, I like that. See, we might have to get together and create these boxes. See, listen, I'm telling you, it's always a process to everything. Listen, I'm telling you, just saying. Be not make
Yeah,
a look, be not make a foundation that we give away boxes, call it that
I
help me
like
heal
that.
box. I'm
I
telling
like
you.
that.
See?
Hey, I like that. That's out of the
Listen.
box. See,
It's
that's what
different.
I'm talking about.
It's
Out of the
different.
box. Okay.
And these are things, because like I go back to the shelter and I do the survival stories. And these are things they could process and use to take their steps to heal,
Hmm.
and because a lot of times, like when I went, it was always I went back because financially, or I went back because I wasn't confident to stay out of it, or I still love them, or, it was just so many reasons they chose to go back. And
Yeah.
then, they finally made that final decision. Cause, I'll never forget, I had a conversation with a young lady, and, somebody gave her number to call me, and I asked her, because she was having another abusive relationship. So I said to her, I'm like, so won't you just, go to the shelter? She was like, oh, I just came out the shelter and I'm going through this again. I don't want to lose my stuff. So your life is less important than materialistic things.
Wow.
So, to think that people are actually worried about materialistic things before they think about their life, it's like, you don't care about yourself or that child that you have in that house. So,
Yeah.
I just try to figure out ways that I can be helpful for the next person that's going through this journey, and they need to understand that it's gonna be a walk, and you're gonna definitely need some tools. You're
Yeah.
gonna definitely need some spiritualness to go with all that, because at the end of the day, you gonna need to, because if you don't fight, you're gonna be back where you left. You're,
Yeah.
you're gonna end up back in the same situation you've been in, or you're gonna find yourself in the same relationship that you walked out of, just a different version. You're gonna
Yeah.
just go in circles. So, in the midst
Can
of
I
the storm.
can I add a seventh thing to my toolbox?
You sure can.
So the seventh thing that I will put in the toolbox is the movie Enough by Jennifer Lopez.
I read the book and I seen the movie. That is my movie.
Listen,
Yes.
listen.
Yes.
I will put that in there because that right there, that is all the tool that you need to be able to learn how to get out of that situation. Now, I'm not
Absolutely.
advocating to go kill nobody. I ain't saying that. But what I'm saying is she had to, it was right here. This
Yeah.
had to change.
Yeah.
And
Her mental.
when this changed, it was over.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the seventh thing I would add in my toolbox.
Listen, I put that in there too, because that is my movie. I read the book. Listen, I watch that movie all day, every day if I
Oh,
had to. That is my movie. And it's
yeah.
crazy because I wrote a poem that I did at this event that's called Enough. Listen, yep, sure do. Somebody, I read that, they was like, oh, you need to go ahead because I got a spoken word album. They said that's going to be on your next album, right? So,
Wow.
it's just, yeah, like, yeah,
Go ahead. Look, and
yeah.
I want to tell you this. Um, my personal mandate is reach one, free one. Okay. And I want you and everybody else to take this with you. Don't try to save the whole world.
Right.
Just if you could reach one person, you have done your assignment.
Absolutely. And that's how,
One.
I definitely take it as that because, you can't save everybody.
No.
And I'm not the superhero. I don't have this cape on and trying to save the whole world because I can't. I
I don't
can't
want
save
it.
the whole world. Listen, it's enough trying to be the vessel that I am now because I didn't have to get people to pour into me in the midst of it too. So
Okay.
yeah, I can't save the whole world. I can't. But
Yeah.
I'm gonna continue to speak. And like you said, if it's just one, I did something. I saved
Yes.
someone through
Yeah.
that journey. So my next question to you is, we have kids that go through stuff as when we go through this mission. What did you talk to your son about? Because you said he's 19 now. So what did you talk to him about as far as domestic violence and how to treat women? Because sometimes we have to break these generational curses from what they've seen before.
Right.
So what did you speak to him on? And did he see you go through it as well? That's the other question too.
So my son was he was a baby. So he was he was between a month and 9 months when all of it kind of went down. So he didn't really get to understand what it was. But I'll tell you this: the abuser did hit him. He hit him as a 9 month old in the mouth. So, um, but I tried to teach him never. I don't care how mad you are, walk away, because if you wouldn't want nobody hitting on you.
Right.
So I believe that I instilled in him to walk away, don't put his hands on a female. I also taught him because of the genes in him from his father. I said, when a woman says no, that means no.
Right.
And so I really made sure to teach him no means no. I don't care if you getting ready and she changed her mind. No means no. So I really instilled that more into him than the domestic part,
Okay.
because he wasn't that type of person.
Right.
But I'll tell you this, and this is the sad part. When my son turned 18, yeah, 18, you know how we say we break in generational cycles. I had an epiphany. My son and I got into my son. I tried to shut the door, and he pushed it back, and all of the anger from his rebellion, I pushed him, and we were tussling, and I'm
Wow.
thinking, there's no way I'm tussling with my 18-year-old.
Right.
It's not that it was in him. I provoked him.
Right.
And he had anger too, because he don't know who his father is. So I said all that to say this: we think certain things will never happen. We can never say never.
Right.
But what we can do is say, that was wrong. I was wrong for that, and I don't want you to ever do that again.
Right.
So I do believe, to answer your original question, I do believe that he knows that violence in a relationship is not the answer.
Yeah, I asked that question because, like, with my daughters, they actually had seen me go through it. So I put them through therapy, and I still have the conversations with them and stuff like that. And, I try to have the conversations with them as well, because I don't want them to then hit on each other
Yeah.
and thinking it's okay,
Yeah.
or for them to be yelling and disrespecting each other because they seen somebody else do it. So,
Right.
I just try to give them the tools.
Yeah.
I give them different ways to use their anger. If you're mad, go get a pillow, scream at it. Go,
Yeah.
go punch a pillow. Whatever is going to help you release it without you putting your hands on somebody,
Yeah.
or where you feel that you have to be verbally abusive or say mean things that you don't mean because you're mad. So,
Yeah.
I try to give them tools. And, like, it's at one point, my daughter had felt that she didn't want to leave me. Like, she had a attachment thing. She felt that if she left me, I would be hurt.
Yeah.
So, I had to then give her the understanding that I need you to just be a kid. And at the end of the day, I don't need you to be my bodyguard. I just need you to be my baby.
Oh, that's good.
Because, she felt that she needed to be my protector.
Yeah.
Because, they saw me go through stuff, and they seen me cry, and, me going to church and releasing all the pain. And, because they used to be like, Mommy, why are you crying? And, I never really told them why, because they were younger. Now they have the conversation. We talked about it. But, I just find the ways of trying to explain certain things to them so that they can understand the value of their self and their knowledge, and know that they should be treated as nothing less than how they feel about themselves. And I don't want them to settle, because I went through the terms of settling for what, the things of my own daddy issues and the things that I went through, because my father wasn't there, and I was looking for love in all the wrong places. And I don't want them looking for love in all the wrong places. So I try to show them that you can love yourself and love on yourself, and your mom will give you all the love in the world. Don't look for it in the
All
world.
of
So I got you. Like, no,
it. I
absolutely
got all
not.
you need.
I got all you need. Listen, when Valentine's Day, I'm making you a meal. What you want?
Okay. What?
Listen,
Tell me.
yeah. So, I just try to bring them up and give them the tools, because, like you said, we can't predict what might happen, but I want to give you the information to understand that if it happens, walk away, get out of it, don't stay. The first time it happens, it will happen again. Because as much as they be like, oh,
Yes.
I'm not, no, it's going to happen again.
Yes.
I was
Yes.
that I was that naive one that went back after it happened the first time, and it happened a few months later. So now I'm
Yep.
good. Then I didn't go to therapy, so it happened over again in another relationship. It's like, okay, God, I'm taking this walk, and I need to go get the things that need to be fixed because
Yeah.
no.
Yeah, it
So
will happen again. That hands
right,
down. I can. I mean, just I remember. I recall like when he gave me that black eye. He told me he was like, "I'm not gonna do it again."
right.
Man, he was good for what 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm. And then it's
But
back.
yeah, that's the number one lie. I'm not gonna do it again. Yeah, that's the number
Yeah,
one lie.
it is. They sweet talk you, they buy you gifts to make you feel better. And oh, baby, I'm sorry. I listen, I'm
Yeah,
telling y'all, don't listen to the lies.
don't
It
listen. Don't
no.
listen.
And if y'all ever get somebody that's aggressive at the beginning, please believe it gets more aggressive later. That's
Yeah,
the other thing. Because or you got somebody that's already calling you out your name and disrespecting you outside, screaming in your face, yelling at you. That's another signs too, because they don't have
yep,
no respect for you outside and they're screaming at you like you're their child. There's
yeah,
a problem.
yep. That's a
There's
problem.
a problem. That's
It
part of
is.
control as well. There's a problem.
Yep, it
So,
sure is. Definitely.
I need y'all to take these things seriously because, especially like it kind of starts when we're younger too. When, we in high school or elementary school or whatever, you had dating and, your little boyfriend yoke you up because, y'all playing around. You might want to think about that.
Yeah,
Like,
early,
it
early.
starts early.
Taking the phones. Like
Yeah.
when I sub, yeah. Like, where's your phone?
Hmm.
Oh, such and such got it. Yeah,
Why?
no. And so I guess that is definitely in the schools. That
Hmm.
stuff needs to be addressed too,
It
because a lot
does.
of little boys do. They take them phones. That's a sign of control.
Yeah.
You can't. You're not paying the bill.
Right. Or you
Um,
or you can't talk to this person. Why you
Yeah, or
speaking to
give me
so and
your
so?
social media account number, and they know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, those are signs too for even the
Yeah.
teenagers and
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah,
It starts early. And like one day I would love to like go into schools and be able to talk to kids because it is so many kids that's actually going through because like them getting teased at school and bullying, that's verbal abuse. Like they're getting abused in a different form.
yep, that's
So,
right.
because like I had a situation with my daughter and I had to have the conversation because like this little boy was calling her out her name. And I'm like, at this time, I think it was about 2 years ago. I'm like, 2, 3 years ago. I'm like, my daughter is only 7. I think she was like 7 or 8. Why does she have to deal with this already? Like he was like when I say calling her out her name, like he was calling her a B, he was calling her hoe, like he was just calling her all the things. And my thing is at that age, where did you hear that from?
Yeah,
And
that's learned behavior.
you're already delivering this to a female. So
Yep.
soon as and it was crazy because I had the conversation. We were talking and my daughter was like, school is hard. I'm like, why do you say that? And, what happened? And so when she was telling me, I said, oh no, I took the phone quickly. I called the teacher. I said, listen, it was a Saturday when we was having this conversation. I called her teacher. I said, look, we need to handle this or I'm coming to school and gonna be a whole problem. I need to see his parents because we're not. I said, look,
We're not doing this. Yeah,
my child is not at the age of 7 dealing with no little boy calling her out her name verbally already. Like, absolutely not. She
yeah.
should be able to be a kid, be able to understand life and just enjoy life and not be being called out her name. Absolutely, we're not doing that. And if I have to come to that school, it's not going to be pretty, neither for
No,
the child nor the parent. I said, listen, I'm a lioness and I'm going to protect my cub. We not playing these games.
come on.
And I was
Yeah,
like, if you got to switch him out of a class, I don't want him near her.
yeah,
Period.
yeah. That's learned behavior. He learned.
Yeah.
He didn't learn that. Yeah,
Yeah. And
yeah.
I don't know if I don't know if his parents or whatever be arguing and he his father or whoever, but I had to cut it real quick because you're not doing it to mine.
Not this one.
Not this one. Absolutely not. So and it starts early. And this
Yeah.
is another reason why I do what I do because say I didn't have the open, door policy for my kids and she could have been going through this a whole lot. That's traumatizing,
Yep.
and
Yep.
it's like then that will lead into her having a self-esteem issue
That's
or
right.
having a problem because she dealt with somebody calling her out her name at the age of 7.
Yeah. And
So,
even cutting. Even they get into cutting and
yeah.
that yeah, the what is it, prescription pills.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, early. And so, yeah, no, not, yeah, it definitely needs to be addressed in the schools. Like, these conversations need to happen in the schools. And I'm just gonna say this, one of the desires that I do want to see is I want to see African American schools.
Right.
I want us to be able to train our children right.
Right.
Like, not I'm not a racist, not at all. Not racist at all. But I want them to be able to learn how to embrace their skin, know who they really are, develop self-esteem, know their worth. And I'm talking about boys and girls.
Yeah, everybody.
Boys and girls, teach them how to properly wear clothes. That's just a desire that I have, because it, like you said, it's starting so early. 7, come on.
I got a better one for you. So we talking about race right now, not to get off topic, because but we talking about race, right? So my daughter was in 2nd grade, and we were at the house, and so one of my daughters light, the other one's brown skin. So I have an ebony and ivory. So my light skinned daughter, she was like, I don't like brown people, and I said, huh? So right, because she was sitting next to her sister, and so my question had to been, where you get that from? Because there's no brown and light in my house. I don't. Y'all both my babies. Like, where did this come from? And what happened was, one of her friends said it, and I had to explain racism to my child in 2nd grade.
Wow, 2nd grade.
2nd grade, and this is why I go so hard when it comes to teaching and schooling my kids on certain stuff, because it's like, at the age of in 2nd grade, why are you already dealing with racism? Why are you talking about this? Like, and my thing is, how you say it starts in the home. So what is your parents saying in the house for you to say that?
For you to say that at school. Yeah,
exactly. And I had to explain to her, like, if somebody's saying that, they telling you they don't like you.
Yeah.
And if they saying that they don't like brown people, you brown, baby. Just because you a little lighter virgin, you brown.
You brown.
You brown. So for you, I said, I asked her, I said, so you don't like me? You don't like you? She said, no, I love y'all. Okay, so you love brown people. Don't let people fool you. Yeah. Don't let people get in your head and tell you some craziness and think it's okay. No.
See, you just said it, in your head. Don't let people we gotta stop letting people get in our head.
And that's our weakness. We allow people, because that's what happens. You get in love, you get in them entanglements of situations,
and they get
they get in the head, and here we go. That's where it starts. Yeah. They they notice what our weakness is, so they prey on us. Yeah. And they prey on that weakness to then break us down, to then get us where they can then demolish us and try to beat us down. And then that's where the domestic violence come in at.
That's it. Yep. Control again.
Control. Yeah. Here we go. Boom. Listen.
Full circle.
Full circle. Absolutely. Boy, I tell you. This has been a deep conversation here. I'm gonna have to sit on all this here tonight. But if you had one message for your story for people, for them to understand and to get out of it, what would it be?
If I had one message from my story to help people get out of it, I would say, break the silence. Break the silence. That will be my message.
Yes. So we about to wrap it up, hon, and I appreciate you for being here. What I need you to do is to tell them how to follow you on social media, how to get your books, and if they need you for life coaching and all those spectacular, awesome things that you're doing, tell them how to contact you.
So I can be reached at my personal website, www.ashleytrahan.com. And I am on Instagram at reach1free1. And I am on Facebook under Ashley Trahan. I'm not on all the other ones.
We gonna get you on TikTok.
I keep it simple.
We gonna get you on Clubhouse.
Now, I am on Clubhouse, but
okay.
Wait, what am I? I just got on Clubhouse, so I think I'm Ashley Trahan.
You think?
But look, if you want to reach me, I would just say visit my website, ashleytrahan.com. You can't go wrong there because I definitely can be reached on my website.
Right. So leave one quote for the viewers for the rest of the week.
Leave one quote. Oh, now I don't know if this, I don't know, I've heard it, but I don't know if it's really from her. So I'm going to say this. They have said that Harriet Tubman said this: I could have freed more slaves had they known they were slaves.
Mm,
I don't know if she said that, but
but that's
people have
deep.
said, yeah, they said she said she could have freed more slaves had they known they were slaves.
And you know
So,
what's crazy? That's so
but
deep because we be enslaved to our minds of what we allow people to enter.
yeah, yeah. So that's the quote that I would leave.
I love
For
that
the
quote.
people.
I need to go write that down somewhere. Listen, I'm telling you. But I
Yes.
appreciate you. Oh, and like I told Miss Free, I am in October. Oh, before we go, do you do anything for domestic violence in October that people may want to follow or get involved with in the month of October for Domestic Violence Awareness Month?
So I do not do anything for that month.
Okay. Well, normally in October, I sometimes do a fundraiser or different projects. So just know I'll be in contact with you. Cause
I'm I'm I'm
we
I'm
gon'
for you.
we gonna need you be over there to let loose and be free. You know this is about to be a whole movement. We ain't playing.
I, I believe
Look,
it. I do. I
it's
believe
about to
it.
be
And look, fundraiser, let me know. I'm when you said about them boxes, listen, when
yeah,
you did, I felt them boxes. Like I could actually see that thing. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, just whenever we connected on social media now. So yeah, just let me know.
absolutely, absolutely. I want to actually thank Miss Freeman and Miss Ashley for coming through today. We will be back.
Thank
Next,
you.
look, I'll actually be back on Friday again doing another
Okay.
Let Loose and Be Free. It will be, I think it's at 8 o'clock. I'll be on next Friday, actually. So I need y'all to come, join, share, listen, get people to hear the message because there's some gems, there's some red flags, there's some information, there's some healing because you
Yeah.
deserve to heal. And I need y'all to get this. I need y'all to understand that you need to know what your self worth is. You need to love on yourself. You need to understand what your worth is. So be
Yeah.
ready to let loose and be free and be ready to just let go of that past because stop carrying that harmful baggage that then tends you to be so vulnerable for the man that's trying to take control of your
Yeah.
life.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this have been author Sheena Goodine here with Let Loose and Be Free. I will be back Friday, and the rest of the month it'll be on every Wednesday and every Friday. I am coming in to give some stories about Let Loose and Be Free. So please
Yeah.
join us, share, tell somebody about it. Come show up. Come join the conversation. We waiting. We want some conversation going. You know, I know it's the first date, but come on in, reel it on in. Like, listen, we're here trying to drop these gems off, trying to get people to understand that, you know, you're not just traumatizing yourself, you're traumatizing a whole lot of people going through domestic violence. Like, it's really hitting hard when it's starting to be hitting to the young kids because then they go and then transfer it to another kid.
That's
So we
right.
have to pay attention to what we're saying, what we're doing, and how we're delivering things, how we react, how we become verbal, how we do mental, physical, spiritual, emotional, all the above.
Yeah.
So this have been Sheena Goodine, and I truly appreciate y'all for tuning in, and I hopefully to see y'all next week or
All right.
tomorrow. I mean on Friday. Thanks.
Bye.